took music full time, and so far I've done about 7 films,
Mhm.
about 30 short films, and I do a lot of TV commercials as well. So I've worked for Z and Star Sports and Paytm and many other TV commercials. So that's my small intro as to what I do. The first instance where I actually got connected to music was the time when I saw the movie Titanic. So I was promised that I will be taken to Chota Chetan, but however, when I got to the theater, I got to know it was Titanic. And once the movie started, that was my first connection with music. The music by James Horner on the film Titanic. I'm sure all of you love the the song by Celine Dion. Engrossed with the score, like it was a different experience altogether. So that was my first connection with music. Like I say, when I came back home, I still had the melody running in my mind. So that was my first emotional connect with music.
Guitar is also very cool with the girls, right? So
Yeah, exactly. That is the point. So
yeah,
violin was a little, you have to sit down, and that's not very, stylish. So
yeah.
then I
Like
started
Shahrukh
off
Khan
with
can
guitar.
do it, but
Yeah,
guitar is probably the more cool thing.
yeah. That's how I met my wife. So we were part of the same band, Surabhi. She also has played a huge role in my life. So we made an anthem for our college. So that was
Wow.
again my first experience with going to a studio and recording something. I composed the song on my keyboard, and then we took it to to a studio, and then we programmed the whole thing, and then we recorded it. I was probably, I would say, above average as a student, but I was into creative field. So I loved art, I loved music. So probably
Mm.
that's what he saw in me. And he was the one who used to pay the fees for all my violin classes and my keyboard classes. And
Mm.
the funny thing is, I used to learn and come back and teach him violin as well. So the
Together.
last few years of his life, he actually learned the violin. So that is
Beautiful.
something that I'm, thanks to this podcast, because I'm able to remember. It feels very nostalgic because I used to come back home, and I used to give my notes to him, and he used to practice violin, and he was pretty decent as well. I mean, and one of my short films, the interesting thing was, it was a really nice short film, and Rishabh Shetty, right, Kantara
Who
director,
doesn't know?
who doesn't? Yeah. So our short film, we showed it to Rishabh Shetty, and
Mm.
he was working on a. It was actually an anthology. It was called Katha Sangama, which
Yeah.
released in 2019. So he took one of our short films as part of his Katha Sangama. So there were 7 stories. So the one that I worked on was called Padwar Halli, which also got the state award, Karnataka state award, and that was my first movie per se. So
Let's take a minute here to give a little bit of an applause.
the only thing that I have to say is, since this podcast is mainly about passion-driven people who have moved from a safe job or whatever to something that is quite uncertain, my only advice to them is, it's possible to do it. You just need to find time to learn things, and
Mhm.
it's going to be a slow process. One-hit wonders don't work, like I mentioned before, and if you're getting into the passion that you really like, I would also say, to be financially stable is something that's going to create a strong foundation.
The lessons that are best learned are from people's experiences, and the lessons that
Correct.
are most learned are from people's failures as well. So,
Exactly.
thank you for sharing that candidly with all of us, your
Yeah.
journey.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Kulkarnis. This is your host and host, Sanjeev Kulkarni. Before we dive into today's amazing story, I have a quick bit of housekeeping. First, I want to send a massive thank you to my brother-in-law, Kailash Nagendra. Kailash and our guest were classmates, and he's the one who graciously made this connection happen. So thank you, Kailash. Second, I also want to offer a brief apology in advance. We experienced some intermittent connection issues which might result in some patchy audio in a few spots. But please stick with it. The conversation is so good that you won't miss a beat. If you caught up on those opening snippets, you already know that we are sitting down with an incredible trailblazer, new age music producer, composer, writer, and director, Girish Hothur. You know, our parents and grandparents were often so focused on building a secure, stable foundation for the family that they put their own passions in cold storage. But sometimes they get to relive those dreams through the next generation. Karma. For Girish, it was his grandfather who first nurtured his own passion by handing a violin to Girish and sparking a fire that would never go out. That passion found an unexpected avenue when an excited 8-year-old Girish went to the cinema hoping to see his first 3D movie. but ended up in the screening of Titanic instead. While the rest of the world was swept in the romance, young Girish was far more mesmerized by the background score than he was by Kate Winslet. From that moment, a lifelong love affair with creating music was born. Over the time, violin gave way to guitar, but the deep roots of his Carnatic fundamentals stayed firmly in place. He composed his very first track as an anthem for his alma mater. Life took the usual turn towards the corporate, but Girish kept the music alive as a side gig while working through the demands of his day job. Then came the major turning point. A short film that he had worked on was picked up by none other than Rishabh Shetty of Kantara fame. Several awards and accolades later, Girish finally took the massive plunge to pursue his passion full time. In this epic two-part chat, we cover it all. We journey from A.R. Rahman to the future of AI in music. We talk about the fanboy moment when he met and worked with his idol, Raghu Dikshit, to deconstructing the brilliance of Akshay Khanna's entry song in Dhurandhar. We even trace viral magic from Gangnam Style to Kolavari D. Along the way, Girish gives us a brilliant rundown of the day in the life of a music producer, breaking down the various roles and activities in the music production journey. So, get comfortable, turn up the volume, and let's dive into the incredible musical journey of Girish Hothur.
Well, hello and welcome to our next episode of the Kulkarnis. This is your host and host, Sanjeev Kulkarni. And I'm very excited that we have one another trailblazer, somebody else who has broken boundaries, somebody else who's forging new paths, and a trailblazer in his own right. Welcome, Girish Hothur, to the Kulkarnis.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev. Thank you for this opportunity. It's an honor for me to be part of this podcast. Thanks for considering me.
My pleasure. And we'll be discussing a lot of wonderful things about your passion that you're doing, Girish. But before we begin, may I request you to please introduce yourself to our guests?
Yeah, sure. So I am actually a music composer based out of Bangalore, India. So I started my musical journey like a very long time ago. I was a kid when I started music. So my grandfather was actually very much into music. Unfortunately, due to certain things, he was unable to get into music. He tried my dad. He sent my dad to some music courses, but he didn't do that well. And then my brother as well was part of a Veena class. But again, I was the person at home to actually take music as a career. So that was my journey. That my grandfather was my main inspiration for me to get into music. So since childhood, I've been doing music. But however, as every parent say, you need to have a strong, at least a backup, that you need to have at least a degree, a decent job, and once you're settled, then you can do whatever you want. So that was my journey as well. So I was in corporate for about 6 years. I worked in Dell, I worked at Cisco, I worked with Ericsson, and it was a career of 6 years. And then I quit music and I took music full time, and so far I've done about 7 films, about 30 short films, and I do a lot of TV commercials as well. So I've worked for Z and Star Sports and Paytm and many other TV commercials. So that's my small intro as to what I do. So currently I am doing music full time. So
Fantastic. This is definitely going to be an exciting journey. Me included, there are many who look at music as a passion, but I'm always inspired by people who are able to create music. It's one thing to just take up the mic and sing what somebody else has composed, but it's another thing to create music. So on that excited note, let's get started. Usually we start our podcast, Girish, by understanding where it all started. And you already gave us a glimpse in terms of how rich your upbringing has been. So let us start from there. How was childhood? Tell us a little bit more about your grandfather, your parents, and the nice upbringing you had.
yeah. So even sometimes, when I feel a little low, I go back to my childhood because I was very creative back then. At least to my knowledge, I was very creative. And the first instance where I actually got connected to music was the time when I saw the movie Titanic, which might sound a little cliched, but the story is my parents were supposed to take me to this film called Chota Chetan, which is
Mm.
actually a 3D film. It was a 3D film, and at the same time, Titanic was released. So I was promised that I will be taken to Chota Chetan, but however, when I got to the theater, I got to know it was Titanic. I was
Okay.
all
Just one
frustrated,
moment.
and I was like,
I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
yeah.
Maybe this is my ignorance. Is this Chota Chetan in Kannada or Chota Chetan in the Hindi one? Or
The Hindi one, I believe. I exactly don't remember. I think it was the Hindi one. So there was a lot of hype back then because this was a 3D film. So that was
yes,
my first time, hearing about a 3D film. So I was pretty excited. And then
exactly.
again, there was Titanic as well at the same time. But
I'm
my
sorry I
parents wanted to
interrupted you
watch.
that way because Chota Chetan definitely was a 3D movie, and
Mhm.
you don't look that old that you went to Chota Chetan. The reason I'm saying this is the first
Uh-huh.
time Chota Chetan released was in '85.
Okay,
Maybe this was some kind of a re-release along
probably
with
a
Titanic.
re-release. Yeah, this was somewhere around 96 or 97. I don't
97. Yeah,
exactly
that's
know.
when Titanic came out. Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
so
That makes
97
more
was when
sense.
Titanic came out. Yeah.
Sorry.
So the
Please
thing
go.
is, I was we went to the theater and I was like, I didn't want to watch the film, but again, once I got into the theater and once the movie started, that was my first connection with music. The music
Hmm.
by James Horner on the film Titanic. I'm sure all of you love the the song by Celine Dion. Uh,
The haunting music
will
tune.
go on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, I was engrossed with the score. Like it was a different experience altogether. So that was my first connection with music, like I say. And after that, when I came back home, I still had the melody running in my mind. So that was my first, proper emotional connect with music. And later from then, I started to analyze music, listen to a lot of music. And of course, Rahman is like god to all music composers and
Of course.
everybody in general. So Rahman was a huge inspiration. So when I was in 7th grade or probably 6th grade, my grandfather, he sent me to violin classes, so Carnatic
Mhm.
violin. So that was when my musical knowledge started, actually. So I was very fortunate enough to get to learn violin at a very young age. And
Mhm.
I also joined keyboard classes. That was just for a year. I learned the basics. And then of course, when 10th standard came, people were like, my parents were like, you have to get your board exams done, and you have to get your career set. So
Mhm.
then 10th came, and then I had to quit music for a bit, but still I was doing it at home. While I still studied, I was composing stuff on my keyboard and stuff like that. And then college happened, and then I moved on to guitar, because violin was a little violin, you have to sit down, and again, I lost practice on violin for a very long time, but I was still consistent on keyboard. And then I learned guitar on YouTube, actually. So I haven't gone to any classes for guitar. So
Girish,
everything
to
I
be
learned.
honest, guitar is also very cool with the girls, right? So,
Yeah, exactly, that is the point. So
yeah,
violin was a little you have to sit down, and that's not very stylish. So
yeah.
then I
Like
started
Shahrukh
off
Khan
with
can
guitar.
do it, but
Yeah.
guitar is probably the more cool thing.
Yeah, and that's where I found my that's how I met my wife today. So she
There
was
you go.
my so we were part of the same band, Surabhi.
Hmm.
So she also has played a huge role in my life. So we'll probably talk about
We'll
her
touch on.
later. But yeah, so the journey started off like that, and then I used to perform in college, and we used to perform at shows and stuff like that. And then what happened was, we did a small song for our college. So I studied in Surana College, which is here in Bangalore in Jayanagar. So we made an anthem for our college. So that was
Wow.
again my first experience with going to a studio and recording something.
Hmm.
So I composed the song on my keyboard, and then we took it to a studio, and then we programmed the whole thing, and then we recorded it. That was my first experience in studio. After that, fast forward, after every degree is completed, since I was in love, I had to get married to the love of my life as well. So I had to be stable. So I had to look for a job, and then my first job was at Cisco. I was not directly working for Cisco, but we were in a third party vendor, which was called STS. I worked there for about 8 months. Then I moved to Dell, and I was there again for 1.5 years. And then I moved to Ericsson, which was my longest stay. So it was about 4 years. And again, I'll have to say that my manager at Ericsson was so supportive, that I was able to learn music production while I was in the office, or when I was traveling to office. Probably we can talk about this a little later on how I did
Surely,
that as well. So
surely.
that 4 year period was a very major milestone for me, because I was able to make a home studio for myself. I was able to get equipments with the job that I had. And
Mm.
then after 6 years, since I was doing a lot of short films and I got my first film as well, I had to quit my job completely, and then I got into this. I quit my job in Jan 2020, and ever since that I've been doing music completely. So
Fantastic.
that's my
And
journey. We can probably elaborate on this if you have any questions.
we definitely will have to. It's a very inspiring journey.
Yeah.
But I still want to go back to the point which you mentioned in your intro itself, because you said that your grandfather was musically inclined. He
Yeah.
had some aspirations. Tell us a
Mhm.
bit more about him. What
Yeah.
was his
So
musical inspiration?
I mean, he was a very interesting man. My grandfather, his name is Rangarao.
Mhm.
He's actually a huge inspiration, not just for me, for everybody at the family, in the family. He was, I mean, he was born in 1924, if I'm not wrong, 1924, 1925. And he used to say, like, during his teenage, what he used to do was he used to sit in a field, in a ground, and they used to play Carnatic music in the radio.
Mm.
And that's how he fell in love with music. And due to circumstances and the times back then, he was unable to learn music, but he was very much into music. He wanted to learn music. It never happened. But later, he wanted somebody in the family to get into music as well. So he tried, like I said, I think he tried sending, I think it was my mom who sent my brother to Veena classes, but he was not very inclined towards that. But somehow I was probably, I would say, above average as a student, but I was into creative field. So I loved art, I loved music. So probably
Mm.
that's what he saw in me. And he was the one who used to pay the fees for all my violin classes and my keyboard classes. And
Mm.
the funny thing is, I used to learn and come back and teach him violin as well. So
Look
the
at that.
last few years of his life, he actually learned the violin. So that is
Beautiful.
something that I'm, thanks to this podcast, because I'm able to remember. It feels very nostalgic, because I used to come back home and I used to give my notes to him, and he used to practice violin. And he was pretty decent as well. I mean, he was not that bad also.
And
Uh,
this works in double ways, right? So
yeah.
first is you teaching is probably the
Mhm.
best way to learn, as they say, right?
Yeah.
When you actually teach
Exactly.
someone,
Correct.
so that is happening.
My
And
my
he
grandfather was my first student, actually.
student. There you go.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So
Yeah. So, but he was a huge inspiration. So I wouldn't be doing music if it wasn't for him.
it
So
was
through this podcast, I would like to remember him and thank him for wherever he is. I would like to thank him for his blessings.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Tata. If I can also call him that.
Yeah.
For getting Girish inspired on this journey. And
Yeah.
also, we also wish that because you started your violin journey towards the twilight times of your years, maybe something wonderful and musical is there in your journey ahead as well. So
Definitely.
we pray for that for him.
In fact, my daughter's name is Swara. So since both of my wife and me are into music, the first thing we wanted was to name our baby with a musical name. And we
Musical.
were, yeah, so, and we wanted a daughter as well. So thankfully, God's grace, we have a beautiful daughter, and we've named her Swara. So
Okay.
hopefully, I'm not sure if she's going to get into music or whatever, but we've just named her Swara. So let's see what happens.
Is her grandfather also sending her somewhere now already?
No, she's just 3 years old, but yeah,
Okay.
probably we'll see what we can do.
Correct.
She's probably into percussions and stuff like that. Let's see.
She's already into that.
Yeah, she keeps banging stuff, so probably we think she might be into percussions or drums or something like that. Let's see.
Something like that. Beautiful. So,
Yeah.
since we have already started talking about it, maybe let's dive straight into that. You said you met your wife also in one of these musical gigs.
Yeah.
So just relive that incident as well in terms of what was that and what is it that your wife does from a musical perspective.
Yeah. So usually at parties or somewhere, uh, everybody asks, right? How did you meet your partner and stuff? So this is the story that we say all the time.
But
So
is
this
this the
was
real
probably
one or this is a prepared story?
no, this is a real story.
Real
This is
story.
a
Okay.
real story for sure, but sounds a little filmy.
Okay.
But yeah, so this is what happened. So this was the year 2010.
Mhm.
in college, first year degree. So there was this audition for the college day.
Mhm.
So a lot of people were performing, and I also had learned guitar, and this was my first time, performing in front of at least 20 people, 30 people.
Mhm.
It's my first time actually singing live, and this was an audition. And there were a lot of dance things that happened, and then there was this drama. Most of them were in groups, and I was the last one to perform. And the teacher was like, we don't allow solo because we don't have too many slots. We don't allow solo. But I was like, please give me just one opportunity. I'll just showcase what I've prepared, so that
Correct.
you can decide if I can do it or not. And then they just gave me an opportunity. Towards the end, everybody were like, unsettled, because they'd been there for a long time. And then I went on to the stage, and then I performed the song called Just Mat Matali from Raghu Dikshit.
Mhm.
So that was the first song that I learned on guitar. Not really the first song, but that was the first song that I performed. And people really liked it. And part of the audience was my wife, Surabhi, as well. So,
Okay.
and she was pretty convinced with my singing and everything. And then I got an opportunity to have a band. Instead of me performing solo, I can have a band, and I can have about 2 to 3 people join me and sing along. I think that will make better sense, is what my teacher said. And that's when I met Surabhi. So she was
Mhm.
a singer along with me in the band. And yeah, that's uh, and after that, every time we listen to Jasmat Matali, it is very nostalgic and it feels very romantic.
Sure.
Yeah,
No,
that's the
no,
first time she saw me. And this also feels a little filmy, that I sang this song, and then people coming, and it was more like a fairy tale ending to be.
and it's a
Yeah,
beautiful ending. Always, happy endings, fairy tale endings are good. I was
yeah.
just thinking that this almost sounds like at least in her case, it sounds like a love at first sight or love at first tune or love at
Our first voice, huh?
note or something like that. What was it for
Yeah.
you? Was it love at first sight for you as well?
I mean, in fact, the funny thing is, I had seen her before this audition. So this was probably the second or third day in college, and she has done BA. She was from a different class. I've done BCA.
Okay.
So we were all combined in a single class, and we had
Hmm.
to just say our names, and probably do something creative. So what she did was, she just said her name, and she sang a beautiful song. I
As part
It
of the
was a song.
introduction.
I mean, that's the first time I saw her. This was 6 months before the audition. So
No, no, but
I
what I'm
saw
saying
her.
is, as part of introducing yourself, she said her name and she sang a song.
You were supposed to do something creative.
Ah,
So
right.
that
Good.
was part of the introduction. So whoever were comfortable, of course.
Yeah.
So she was into singing. So she sang a beautiful song, and I was like, she's pretty good. She sings really nice. And fast forward 6 months, this college audition happens, and I had seen her before. And when I sang, she that was the first time she saw me.
She.
So
This
so
literally
that was
sounds like
probably.
both of you have fallen in love with each other because of music. You fell in love, or no, I wouldn't say love, but at least you noticed her and it had an
Yeah,
imprint of mind where
definitely,
she sings well.
definitely. I mean, music has played a huge role in my life, so I can't deny the fact that I met her through music as well. So really.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I believe that she is into singing primarily, or she's also into some
uh,
musical
no, I
instrument.
mean, she's very good at singing, but currently she's working as a HR in a company.
Okay.
So she's been in corporate, but of course, when I need help with female vocals, she's the one that I go to. So she still sings, but yeah, she says she needs a little more practice, but she has a beautiful voice. With all the schedule and the kid, it is always tough.
It's very
Yeah,
difficult. But
yeah.
what I was trying to ask is, she's primarily into vocal only, or does she play some musical instrument?
No, she is completely into vocals. She has done her Carnatic. She has done her juniors in Carnatic as well, uh, and she sings Bhava Gite and a lot of Carnatic music. In fact, I've used her voice in some of my demos as well. So
Yes.
if you go through my YouTube channel, probably one of the first videos was a song that I sang with her. So
Absolutely. And on that note, I just want to mention to the audience as well that good time to kind of mention that please do like, share, and subscribe to both our channel as well as Girish's channel. where since I'm getting this opportunity, or maybe I'll dive into that itself first, a little bit of fast forward, and then we'll come back. But if
Mhm.
you go into Girish's YouTube, you will find some pretty interesting things, I must say. In terms
Yeah,
of not just his talent that you get to see, but you do a lot of these walkthroughs of studios,
yeah,
which also we'll get to. But what really caught my attention, Girish, is that you're actually teaching people how to make music.
yeah.
That caught my attention. I mean, are you creating competition for yourself?
No, the thing is, I consume a lot of YouTube tutorials. You know, apart from music, if I had to do something, probably I'll probably get into teaching. So I always say, once I retire, I'll probably get into teaching, like music
Hmm.
production or basics of music. I want to get into that teaching because I want to share the knowledge that I know. This also helps me expand my musical knowledge as well. So when I teach people, it definitely helps me improve as well. So,
Correct.
and a lot of people keep calling me asking for equipments on, I want to start a podcast, or I want to start a music, I want to record my own music, and everything is very affordable now, but there is
Hmm.
no step by step process. So that's when I thought I'll start a YouTube channel, and anytime anybody calls me, I'll probably send this video. you know
Beautiful.
so that was how it started. And from the past 1 year, I've been a little serious
Hmm.
on YouTube. And apart from music videos that I do, like song compositions and stuff like that, I also do a lot of studio tours. I've done tutorials on what are the basic necessities you need to record music at home, to
Yes.
start a home studio. That's a very basic thing that people should know right now, because even if you're making a podcast, audio is very important.
Correct.
So so these are the small things that I want to share with the world, and YouTube is a free platform,
It's a
and
free.
I really find joy doing this. It's not something that I do for money necessarily, but it's out of passion, because I don't say no money to money as well. But yeah, but this is completely out of passion. YouTube is completely out of passion.
Out of
So
that. And that was evident. I said that half jokingly, but it
yeah,
was quite evident to see how passionate you are about it, that you are even willing to teach people how to
yeah,
actually create music. And I have a
yeah,
few questions on that because I was fairly fascinated how quickly you can create music without actually. I mean, of course, you need to have knowledge of music, but without actually creating music, so to say, right? No musical
right,
instrument, nothing. But you
yeah,
have certain tools through which you are able to create all that, and we'll come to
yeah,
that part of the journey.
yeah.
But now let's make a switch towards how the music journey started, right? And I'm especially keen to understand about this wonderful manager or that you had in
Mhm.
Nixon, who
Yeah,
was actually encouraging you.
yeah,
If you feel like do touch upon that part of the journey, because it's very
yeah,
rare that you find managers who are willing to push you to pursue a passion. Otherwise,
yeah,
everyone wants the maximum from work, right?
yeah, yeah. So what happened was, once I finished college, uh, there was a small hold for with music. So I was working at Cisco, and then I moved to Dell. I was completely career driven. I
Hmm.
wanted to get up the ladder, and I wanted to do something in corporate. I wanted to make money and stuff like that. And then I realized that no matter how hard you work, at the end of the day, when you're passionate about something, I always missed doing music. I was
Hmm.
unable to give time to music as I did before when I was in college and stuff like that. And what happened was, then I quit Dell, and then I joined Ericsson. And then my manager, his name is Bhargav, he's still in touch with me every year. On the day of on Jan 21st, I text him saying, Bhargav, it's been 5 years since I quit job, and I don't feel like coming back. I'm able to sustain. Thanks for your support. I text him every year. In fact, this Jan 21st, I'll have to.
Coming
It'll
up,
probably be,
yes.
yeah. So it'll be 26. Sorry, it'll be six
6 years.
6 years since I quit corporate, and I'm doing this full time and able to sustain. So I always thank him. I've never forgotten that. So what happened was, me and Bhargav, who's my manager, we used to travel in the same cab. And when your cabbies, right, when your cab mates, what happens is, like, you keep chatting stuff and things like that. And then he casually asked me, what do you do, in music? I showed some of my work, and he was really impressed. He liked my work, and then he got me in touch with another friend of his, whose name is Ajit Keshava, who has also helped me with a lot of songs. You can check out some of my songs on YouTube. He's written the lyrics, and he's also a singer. So
Mhm.
he got me in touch with him, and he was always supportive, because when I had to do something, like if I had to meet somebody, he used to let me go like 2 hours before the office schedule. Like I could have logged out a little early, and I could have met that person, or we actually showed some of our short film to Rishabh Shetty, uh, and I had to log out a little early from office, and Bhargav was very supportive, and you know always he used to share my work with all my colleagues. And in fact, like he used to send out emails in the office mail as well, that I'm doing something in music. And we also had a lot of groups, Ericsson groups, and he used to share that constantly. And he was a constant support. He was like, you were doing corporate and you also concentrate on music as well. So he was very supportive that way. And also, what happened when I was at Ericsson was my workload was comparatively less than when I worked at Dell or Cisco. So
Mm.
what I did was, when I was traveling to the office, it was like a 1 hour journey to office. I used to watch all YouTube tutorials on my phone on the journey, and that's how I learned music production. So
Very-
I am a password from YouTube University, to be precise. So
and that's
everything that
another
I know is from
fascinating
YouTube.
that's another fascinating point that I want to get to, but not without thanking Bhargav,
Yeah,
your manager. Thank you, Bhargav, for making that small. From your perspective, you might think it's a small gesture, or you might not
yeah,
even think it's a gesture. But
yeah,
for people who are passionate, these small things matter a lot.
correct.
So thank you for giving that encouragement to Girish, and therefore we are seeing the Girish that we know today. Uh, so what I wanted to ask you next was, and we are getting in the direction of what we said, but what you learned was absolutely Carnatic music, right? So you
Yeah,
started learning from the fundamentals, and I'm pretty sure that that's helped you significantly. But the
yeah.
point I want to get to is that now, or at least with the little glimpses that I saw of how you produce music,
Mhm.
I'm amazed at how much technology has progressed, wherein you may probably actually not have any real instruments.
Yeah,
You're talking completely in a digital world. How does
yes.
this transformation happen? I mean, were you always inclined a little bit in this direction, or do you still find solace and peace in actually playing an instrument? Hope my
Uh, you
question
know,
makes sense.
Got it. Yeah. Obviously, nothing can replace me holding the guitar and playing it, or playing the piano, not just, using the mouse and the keyboard to produce music. Nothing beats that. But with today's technology, with today's speed, and the delivery that you have to give, like the deadlines are pretty tight.
Mm.
So with this timelines, I think it is really important you embrace all this technology, because I am sure you would have seen some of my videos related to AI as well. There is a new plugin called Resing,
Yeah.
where I can sing something and I can make it sound like a female singer singing that. So there's a video, you can probably check it out. It's a plugin from IK Multimedia.
Mm.
So they sent it out to me, and I made a video on that. So it's very important to understand the technology, with, of course, having musical skills.
Correct.
It makes your process much faster. In today's world, everything is very fast. So you have like 3 day deadlines for a single ad, which is also a lot sometimes.
Mm.
Yeah. So you have to compose, you have to mix, you have to master everything within that 2 to 3 days. So it is a very competitive industry, music
Mm.
specifically. But nothing can replace playing the real instrument. Even you can just do a mock-up, but sometimes, for big films or to get that grandeur, you still need live musicians, at
Mm.
least for now. AI has got to a point that it is really good. You don't need any of that. But I somewhere feel that we still need musicians. We still need musicians to at least teach AI what can be done.
What to be done?
Uh,
And and
yeah,
and, uh, and maybe I may be thinking in a slightly different zone. I'm pretty sure there are going to be royalty-free music that AI gives as well. But
yeah, that's there
probably
already.
the music
Suno
that AI
music.
uses could have a royalty, which is where the real music comes in, and which is
Correct.
strange. It's convoluted, but but
Yeah,
that's where it seems to be going.
yeah. No, there is also an app called Suno Music. So you can create. You just have to type in lyrics. You just have to type in what genre of music you want. If you have
Mhm.
any references, you can give that. You feed it to that, and then it gives you an output within seconds.
Within
you know
seconds.
but again, there is no human feel in AI music. In fact, this year or probably next year, there might be AI music that can be nominated for Grammys as well.
Is
So
that
that is the era we are in right now.
which is
Yeah,
strange? Who's going to pick up the award?
yeah. In fact, there is a band in Spotify which is actually doing really nice on the charts. It's completely AI.
And they're
So it's
only AI
almost like,
generated music.
yeah, it's completely AI generated, including the lyrics, the music, the voice, everything is AI generated. It's
Then
just that
what
the
credit is
prompts
the
are
band
given by
taking?
human beings.
Isn't it cheating in a way? What credit is the band trying to take?
I know. People have spent lifetimes, learning an instrument or mastering their craft, and here we are in this AI era. But again, I wouldn't say that's a wrong thing, because as time progresses, we also have to update ourselves. Because I
Correct.
use ChatGPT a lot. Sometimes, when you want to understand some musical theories and stuff like that, you put it on ChatGPT and just say, explain it to me like a 5-year old.
Correct.
It does a great job. So
Absolutely.
it has its own upsides and also it has its downsides, but we must work with it actually to get better output.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
What I feel is that you, with the knowledge that you have,
yeah,
can probably ride that wave better. You can learn it better. I mean,
yes,
I would be lying if I said that I have not dabbled with some of these things, right? You open GarageBand is probably the most basic level, but you
correct.
open GarageBand, you try something, and the output that you get is horrendous.
Yeah.
But when you play with it, and within 2 or 3 minutes, when you have done the Bloom Kashmir plugin
Mhm.
that you have used, within
Yeah,
literally 2 minutes, you have created a phenomenal track, and you're doing it live.
correct.
We are able to see it, right? So that
Yeah.
comes with the knowledge you have. I can't just mix things as well, right? So
Yeah,
that plays a big role.
yeah, but it's
Uh,
possible actually. Anybody can do it. If I can do it, I'm sure anybody can do it. It's just
Anybody
that
can.
you need some time and you need some dedication towards it. That's all.
You have to put that effort to learn it. I mean, even that is a
Yes,
tool, right? So,
absolutely.
just like mixers or the whole production team might be doing a few things very well, sitting behind and
Yeah,
managing the console, etc. AI is more or less headed in that direction, where you need to
correct,
understand how to use it first. Just
correct.
random mixing is not going to work.
Yeah. So, like, if you give a prompt to ChatGPT or Suno app to compose a music, it's going to be different. I can be much more articulate on what exactly I want with Suno
Exactly.
music. It gives a different output. It might be better. So that's what I'm just saying. So it's important
Exactly.
to
It's
understand the
about the
basics.
prompt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about how you prompt it.
Yeah.
We are getting in a slightly different direction, but nonetheless very important, because I did want to ask you that what
Hmm.
is the impact AI is having, and I think you have beautifully answered in terms of how well you capture it. But that has
Yeah.
also given me a plug into this one. So before I ask you about how the ads worlds work,
Hmm.
just let us roll a few years back and explain how did that journey start? How did you land up with the first gig that you ever got from a music journey perspective? And I'm not talking what you did for your college, but something
Yeah.
that paid you, like as a professional in a way.
Correct. So again, the first, I started off with a short films actually. So I started scoring for short films, which was a huge deal back then. A lot of people, a lot of newcomers were starting off with short films because people could shoot on their phone, and doing a short film was much more affordable. And
Correct.
people used to learn stuff on YouTube, and they used to start filmmaking. And I usually used to get a lot of DMs on Facebook back then, or I would in fact search on film groups if somebody is looking for a music composer. So that's how I got my initial first few gigs. So my first few gigs were definitely short films, which were not that great, but it definitely helped me, understand the art of composing music to create emotions. It's
Mm.
scoring is nothing but parallel storytelling. So you're also
But were
telling
you using
stories through your
background
music.
score here, or were there actually songs that you were doing?
No, these were background scores. So
Background.
these were background scores. Before that, I've composed music for my own, like these are called like albums or EPs. So I used to compose my own songs, and I put them out on YouTube. And from there I got a few opportunities for short films.
Mm.
So those were my first few gigs. So short films, they were not much, they don't have high budgets, but it's something that I could explore and I could experiment on. And
Mm.
since then I've done about like 30-35 short films.
Beautiful.
And one of my short films, the interesting thing was, it was a really nice short film. And Rishabh Shetty, right? Kantara
Yes. Who
director,
doesn't know?
who doesn't? Yeah. So our short film, we showed it to Rishabh Shetty, and
Mm.
he was working on it was actually an anthology. It was called Katha Sangama, which
Yeah.
released in 2019. So he took one of our short films as part of his Katha Sangama. So there were 7 stories. So the one that I worked on was called Padwar Halli. which also got the state award, Karnataka State Award, and that was my first movie per se. So it was not exactly my first film, but I did the intro for that film, and also Padwaralli was part of the film Katha Sangama, and that was my huge milestone. After that is when I quit my job. So till then
And
I had to struggle with
let's take a minute here. Let's take a minute here to give a little bit of an applause.
yeah, thank you.
And so just to get this right, you're saying that you all had already done the short film, and that short
Yeah.
film was later picked up by Rishabh as part of Katha Sangam.
Correct. So the
Oh,
concept of Katha Sangama was back in probably 70s or 80s. Puttana Kanagal, Kannada
right.
director, he had done a similar film with the same name, Katha Sangama. So it is collab. It is 7 directors, 7 music directors, and different actors. So he was introducing to Kannada industry 7 new artists, like 7 directors and 7 music directors and different editors. This was a different concept back then. So
Correct.
Rishabh Shetty wanted to get this concept back again, and he actually there were a few short films that were directed specifically for Katha Sangama, and ours, went well with the theme of this anthology. So
Oh, nice.
since our film was really nice, he actually bought the film and he made it as part of Katha Sangama. That was again a huge milestone for us because my
Really nice.
first film, my debut, doing it with Rishabh Shetty. He was a big name back then. He had already done
Absolutely.
Bell Bottom, and he had already done Sarkari, which did really well here in Bangalore and Karnataka. So I was really
And
happy.
he had already done
Kirik Party.
Kill.
He
Right.
had already directed that, so he was
So for
already a
everyone
huge
now,
name.
I just want to mention this for everyone's knowledge as well. All of us now obviously know Rishabh Shetty because of Kantara, and I want to mention it here specifically to some of my friends. It is Kantara, not Kantara or something like that. So it is
Yeah,
Kantara. Look at what is written in Hindi. So
yeah,
Rishabh is obviously famous for that, and
right.
but his journey started in a much different way. It is not about Rishabh Shetty, but I
Yeah.
also want to specifically call out that the whole nation's craze, so to say, Rashmika Mandana, was
Mm-hmm.
introduced by Rishabh Shetty in his movie called as Kirik Party, which is a Kannada
Correct.
movie.
Yeah.
Hilarious. It will remind you of your college days. Do
Yes.
watch that
Yes.
if you get a chance.
Yeah.
But that was the start of Rishabh Shetty. So I'm taking a slight
Correct.
digression so that we can give this bit of information to our viewers as
Context. Yeah. Gives a better context actually. Yeah. So since he was a huge name, Katha Sangama was, and we also got the state award. I also got a couple of awards for music that I did for Padwarhalli.
well.
So
Congratulations.
that was again a huge milestone. This was the movie released December 4th, 2019, and
19.
that's when I decided I'll quit my job. I was unable to balance both music and corporate, and again my manager Bhargav was very encouraging. He was, he said, "Go for it. Don't come back." He said, "Hey, don't come back." I said, "Give me.
In a
I'm
nice
gonna take
way.
1 year's time. I'm gonna take
Yes.
1 year's time. If things don't work out, I'll come back." The only thing
Hmm.
he said was, "Don't come back.
Hmm.
You continue your passion."
Correct.
So that's how I stumbled into film, and it's been 6 years. I'm able to
6 years.
sustain.
And I
Yeah.
also want to call out to the viewers that look up Katha Sangama on Wikipedia. You will
Yep.
actually find Gautam's name listed there.
Oh,
And that's a pretty nice thing, where your name comes up in the credits. I'm sure there are many
yeah,
more, but Katha
yeah,
Sangama will always be memorable because it's probably the first in that sense, right? So for you,
yeah. So it's also available on Prime, Amazon Prime. So you can watch it if you want, if you have the time.
yes, that
Streaming
I
on
did not.
Amazon.
Thanks for
Yeah,
letting us know that. I'll surely be checking that out. I'm hoping that I
yeah.
will get it here in Australia, but we'll
I think
surely check
you should. I think probably you can use some VPN or something and watch it.
and then try that.
Yeah,
Uh, Continuing on the journey chronologically, so that's a big move that you take. Obviously, family would have been very supportive
yeah.
in that journey. But one very important thing happened just 2 months after you quit.
Hmm.
How did that jolt work for you? I'm talking about COVID here, obviously.
Yeah,
Did
obviously.
that helpful in a way, or did that actually impact you?
Yeah. So what happened was, um, I actually put on my paper somewhere in 2019. This before this COVID thing happened, and my last working day was Jan 21st. So COVID was still back in China, so it was still not here in India. So we thought it's just going to be another news. I mean, it's probably gonna just vanish within a few days. And COVID happened, but fortunately, I already had a few projects going on, so I was
Mm.
able to sustain through the COVID period. And it was not like I had saved up. I had saved up for these times, because once I quit my corporate job, I knew it's going to be financially a little tough. So what I did was we saved up some emergency fund. We had some savings, and my wife also is very supportive. She also was working, still is working, and we had a backup. So
Mm.
the main goal for us was to be financially stable and follow our passion.
Mm.
So COVID happened, but I still had a project, and in fact I did better than my corporate job. Like whatever I made in 2019, I made better than that in 2020. Even though there was COVID, everything we did was remote work. And I also did some projects for Discovery Channel. So there was this dubbing project that I had to do. So one of my friend who stays pretty close by, who is a dubbing artist, is a voiceover
Mm.
artist. So we got this project from Discovery Channel. So what happens is, there is this particular show called Expedition Unknown, and
Mhm.
they dub that into Kannada. So when you go to streaming platforms, you have this option to change the languages, right?
Correct.
So the main lead was played by one of my friend. So he had to do the voiceover for it. So
Mhm.
since COVID happened, he was unable to travel like to the normal studios where all these happened, right? Like where these recordings happen. So we did it in our studio, and the whole year I was able to sustain that way. So that project helped me a lot.
Like
Yeah.
our
So
studio, where you're sitting right now.
yeah, in the studio. So we recorded the voiceovers for Discovery Channel here at this studio, and that was a pretty good revenue for 2020.
Mhm.
So COVID actually did not affect my musical journey, and hence I didn't go back to corporate. And then
Corporate.
from there, I whatever whatever amount, like PF and all that, I put that towards my home loan. I finished my home loan, and
Mm.
of course without my wife's help it wouldn't have been possible.
Of
So the
course.
first goal was, whatever music money that I make through music, I wanted to put it across the home loan and finish, so that we don't have that on our shoulders, and
Mm.
then I can concentrate completely on my passion. So one more thing that I want to say through this podcast is, when you're trying to follow your passion, it's really important for you to be financially stable as well, because if you're not financially stable, then you cannot concentrate on your passion. So
True.
my first goal was to be financially stable, have my emergency fund saved up, start investing, so for my future and for my family as well. That was the main goal, and we are at a point where you know it's going good, so I don't have any complaints. So that was one major milestone. I read a lot of books, so finance books were some of the things that really helped me. And
Mm.
I'm sure you know about somebody called Dave Ramsey,
Yes.
who's from US. So I
Mm.
followed his seven baby steps. So I followed that, and that really helped. So that is the reason why I'm still able to sustain even after 6 years.
Smart, and,
So
and that is really sound in a way that you're going about it, right? Of course,
yeah,
it definitely helps to have a second wheel that is continuously running for you. So kudos
yeah,
to your better half also for supporting you in chasing your passion. It helps to have common passions also,
yes, yes,
but
yes.
she's supporting you in that journey, and that one wheel running
Mm,
makes a huge difference. I'll tell
correct.
you that in my podcasting journey that I've been doing now for about a year and a half, there is
Hmm.
only one couple that I've interviewed. The interview was
Hmm.
not with the couple, but
Okay.
incidentally in their journey, there is only
Hmm.
one couple who have actually both given up their careers to pursue their passion. They have a shared
Wow,
passion, but both of them have given it up. And I
that's
found
wonderful.
that as genuinely, something that was thought provoking. It makes you think that what kind of risk taking ability must you have that
That's
both
true.
of you decide to do that at the same time. Not same time, maybe a year here and there, but
Yeah,
nonetheless, both of you are giving up something to pursue
correct.
something else, and you have nothing steady per se. So that is called
Yeah,
real
yeah,
risk taking. Like डूब
correct.
जाते हैं, साथ में
I
डूबेंगे.
know. It's really a scary thing. When I quit my job as well, it was pretty scary. But the thing
Yeah,
is, I had a plan in mind, and I
correct.
was, give it 1 year. If it doesn't work out, definitely get back to corporate. So that was the
Absolutely.
plan. Fortunately, everything worked out, and I hope it works out in the future as well.
Of course it will. Of course it will.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about this side, Girish. So coming from and by the way, I'll also use this as an opportunity to talk about the podcast and why it happened. Right.
Hmm.
Most of us, I don't want to talk about my age here, But most of us are stereotypes in a way, right?
Yeah.
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 So if I were to tell you that I studied in the 90s, and if
Mm-hmm.
I were to ask you to guess what I did, there's a good chance you would say engineering. So tick in the box. Correct. I am an
Yeah.
engineer,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? If I ask you to guess what industry I worked in, 90% chance that you will say IT industry.
IT.
Correct,
Yeah.
right? And let me ask this: why am I guessing for you? If I were to
Mm-hmm.
ask you to guess what companies I worked for, or what company I might have started my career with, or where did I work, what would you guess? IT industry, engineer.
Top 500 like Wipro, Infosys.
Exactly. Those two companies. I've spent a bulk of my career just in those two companies. So all of us have a stereotypical journey so far,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What was really inspiring me is to figure out that what does it take for people to break those stereotypes? How do you
Yeah.
defy a stereotype, right? How do you forge a path of your own? How do you
Mm.
break that boundary?
Yeah.
Uh, I sometimes feel envious of the next generation, so to say, right? Be it Gen
Yeah.
Z or whatever the gens
Alpha,
are.
Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha is still too young, but at least Gen Z and
Mm.
millennials also, for that matter, right?
Yeah.
Because there is an inherent sense of this spirit that comes. But
Mm.
my generation, I'm probably giving away my age here. Uh, there is a lot unnecessary boundaries we have around ourselves, right? It takes a lot
Correct.
to break those boundaries.
Correct.
And me being a dhakka start, like you might remember those old Bajaj scooters where you have to bend the scooter, give it a nice kick, and then it starts.
Yeah.
So I see myself as that category. So
Mm.
the whole idea of coming up with the podcast was that if I'm listening to other people's journeys, I'm listening to other
Yeah.
people's starts and how they took off and what they did when they faced risks, right? That does give inspiration to people. So that was the
Right.
genesis of how we came up with the podcast and the journey. And every
That's
time I talk to people about such things, it really inspires me. So
yeah.
continuing with that, what I wanted to ask you was, it was great that your first year itself went well, and that's a big bonus in a way, right? But
Yeah.
do you also come across some downtime sometimes where you feel that life was good earlier? Should I go back there?
Correct.
Type.
What happens is, before I used to do music as a hobby, it was not a career. Now it is more like, once you get to a stage, you have a lot of pressure. Like I said, these commercials, these ads that I do, they have a tight deadline, and the requirement is top notch. So
Hmm.
they want something, when you have to put something which has to compete with other ads in IPL, or with other advertisements in like a World Cup or something like that. The quality has to be top notch in terms of production, in terms of musical sounding and everything. So that pressure is something, sometimes I feel that as a challenge for me,
Hmm.
because to meet the expectations of the director. And sometimes what happens is you have to give multiple revisions, or sometimes your music gets rejected. So those are some of the challenges that I face. So those are mainly some of my downtimes, I would say. Because when you compose something, when you work on something, it becomes your baby, and somebody
Hmm.
rejects that, you feel disheartened, and you feel like, you get that imposter, what is that, imposter syndrome, is that right?
Right.
Yeah, so you get that, actually.
You
So
start
you feel
self-doubting
like,
also in a way.
yeah, you start self doubting, am I good enough for this, or should I have stayed in corporate? It would have been much easier than doing this challenging job and stuff like that. You have that self doubt, but again, you kind of, I don't know exactly how, but you overcome it. You do something better than what you had done before, and then life moves on. So that is
Would you be
something that I
would you
face.
be okay to elaborate on that? I mean, what is it that you do? Is it
I
something
mean,
inherent, or there is some routine you have?
I take a break. I went out to my wife usually. When something gets rejected. Yeah, and she is my motivation. She's like, I know you can do better than this. So she gives me my feedbacks, like, when I usually compose something, I usually, it's her that I show it first, and
Hmm.
she gives me her straightforward feedbacks. And sometimes that hurts when she says it's not nice, but she's being very honest. And that's what something that we also need to grow, right? Because I keep doing the same thing, you kind of lose perspective on what you're doing. And
Correct.
when I see it from her perspective, she's right most of the times. I feel really bad, and sometimes I get angry as well. But at the end of the day, she's right. So
Yes.
she's not being very nice to me or anything. She's just being honest. So
And
I
when you
went
say
out to her.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and then what happens is she gives me some ideas or some motivation, and then I come back and then I work on something, and most of the times it works. It's not that I've never been touchwood. I've never been fired from a project yet because of my bad music. Uh, so I've been able to give them revisions, or I've been able to give them better options, and that's how it's been till now. But I'm sure there are going to be tough times in the future as well. Those are the major challenges that I feel. Apart from that, of course, in terms of finances, there is a delay. There is a huge delay with payments, even if it's a big company or a movie that I work on. There are sometimes they are not like corporate, like you get your money on first, so you need to
Correct.
plan your finances accordingly. So
Correct.
these are the major two challenges. One is the creative aspect of it, and the second one is the finance aspect of it. So finance
And
aspect,
go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, no. What I'm saying is finance aspect. Somehow we are able to manage because I plan everything accordingly, and of course we have a backup. My wife is supporting me, so that's not a huge problem. The creative challenges are something that I'm trying to figure out as I go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an uphill journey in a way, right? I've probably not come across, if we talk just in the music field also, I've not come across a single music director or a music composer who's had it easy from day one, right? So
Correct.
there is
Yeah.
always a struggle journey, and then
Correct.
when you hit a certain spot,
Yeah.
that is when and the way it's heading, I'm sure it's not
Correct.
too far.
Yeah.
The
No, in fact, big music composers also, they have kind of a writer's block. If even if it's Hans Zimmer or even if it's A.R. Rahman, they keep saying that they also have writer's block, which is a good
correct,
thing, because even when you reach to that top, let's say you do a hit song, and to do another hit song is a very tough thing.
correct,
So the challenges for them are much higher than what I am facing right now. So
absolutely. Absolutely. And
yeah.
I want to get to ARR, but before that, I just want to ask one more thing. So
Mhm.
the comparison that you talked of, between a corporate and a this, right, like a January Fest paycheck, that is one thing.
Yeah.
But the second thing also that comes to my mind is in a typical corporate role, like
Mhm.
ignore sales, etc., for a minute. But in a typical corporate role, you have a piece of work, you're continuously doing that, right? So you don't have to go
Mhm.
hunting for work, so to say.
Correct.
But now I think there is a certain amount of hunting for work that you have to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So
How was that for you? Was that natural, or do you find yourself good at it, or you had to learn that?
initially, like I said, when I had to do like to get my initial gigs, this was back
Hmm.
in 2016. I had to search for thing pages on Facebook, and I had to reach out to directors and stuff like that. Even now, I do actually send out emails to companies. Right now, since I'm working on my YouTube, I'm sending out emails to companies where I can request for plugins or softwares. So that's how I'm able to get projects for my YouTube. So I get a lot of softwares for free.
Hmm.
So that is some kind of a reach out that I do. But for my music, currently what has happened is I've built a network over the period of 10 years, and people start referring me from one project to another, or the same people come back to me again, and that's how I'm able to sustain. And my funda is my thing is, I don't want to take too many projects and strain myself. I want to do
Hmm.
one project and I want to do it neatly, and
Hmm.
hence my commercials are a little more than what normal people ask for, because
Hmm.
I want to concentrate on one project, give my 100% towards it. I don't work on too many projects over the years. So that has helped me out, to give quality output, and people come back to me again. So it's not necessary that I reach out to people. I've come to a stage where now wherein people are coming to me for projects. So I've been
Hmm.
able to fill my books for the whole year, probably with movies or ads and stuff like that. So I've not been able to. I've not been doing a lot of networking these days, but I think that will definitely help, in future as well. I want to expand a little more this year in 2026, so I might reach out to people, and that's
Beautiful.
how I want to. Yeah.
And may the year do that for you as well. All right. So now what I
Yeah.
want to do is, before we go into the next part, I said I want to talk about ARR.
Hmm.
But I will ask a few questions which are random.
Okay.
And let's keep it rapid in terms of how it is. Right, the first thing that comes to your mind.